Gentlemen, what is good? Tonight's video is called IQ Will Never Help You Understand Women. Only the ability to spark their arousal triggers will. So, that's tonight's video. Uh, IQ will never help you understand women. Only the ability to spark their arousal triggers will. All right. So, what do I mean by that? I'm going to give you 3 points tonight, and then I'll give you a fourth point as to what I think you can do about that. Okay? Sound good? Point number one is that women do not care about your intelligence. Okay? They just don't. They only care about how you make them feel. All right? And they only care about how you make them feel either in the bedroom, in your daily interactions, or your interactions, your moment by moment interactions, and whether you are leveling up in the world or not. Okay. So, as a man, you have to perform, and you're going to have to basically uh, help your woman feel good all the time. My last video that I got playing back there talks about uh, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin hits, all about the science behind. And I'm not a scientist, but the chemical reactions in a woman's brain and how you can trigger those things. And you can see that in my last video was called "Be a Brain Surgeon," basically in quotes. Be a brain surgeon, not literally, but help your woman. Help your woman's brain feel these things, these yeah, these chemicals in her brain, trigger them. Okay, so women do not care about your intelligence because, and I'll get into why. And but before I do, it's really important to be sexually experienced, to be good in bed, to know how to please your woman in bed. Okay, and I can't stress this enough. And most men think that this thing is like, oh geez, I'm supposed to be good, I'm supposed to be like the nice guy, I'm not supposed to. You want to be experienced in bed, trust me. And you can doubt me on this one, but it's very true. Your woman today is going to be most likely going to be more sexually experienced than you are. I've said this in a number of other videos. I think the average man sleeps with about 8 women in their lifetime. The average woman today sleeps with about 20 to 50 different men. You're going to need to know how to sexually please her. And you're going to need to be her top 1, 2, or 3 best sexual experiences if she's going to tolerate you in a long-term experience, okay? Just keep that in mind. In your daily interactions, you're going to need to create those, the serotonin hits, and keeping her aroused, flirting with her, knowing how to run game on your wife, knowing when to retract attention, knowing when to, I hate to use the word discipline, but it's true. You have to know when to discipline your woman or your wife. If she's done something wrong, you got to retract that attention. And if you're always flirting with her, if you're always running game on her, and she does something wrong, she'll notice when you when you withdraw that, or withdraw. We'll just say withdraw. When you withdraw that attention, she's gonna notice, and that's gonna be your go-to. Okay, and I utilize this all the time in my marriage, and it's been a saving grace for me. Um, and yeah, maybe in another video I'll get into more or less how I do that in detail. But for now, just want to leave you with that. Okay. Also, you need to be leveling up. You need to be showing her that you're moving up in the world, that you're on your purpose, that you're on your game, that you're on your, not your game, but you're on your journey, right, in life, to make yourself a better man. And that, in that essence, you're showing her that she's not, your purpose in life isn't necessarily to make her life the best that she can, but it's to make your life the best that you can. And if she sees you doing well, she'll get on board with that. Okay. And most men today, I think, get on board with their wives' purpose or their women's purpose. And it needs to be the other way around. They need to get on your purpose. And men today, that's a foreign concept to most men today. And what you got to do is you got to understand that she needs to be a part of your program. She needs to sign up to what you're doing. And that can happen. That can happen whether you're making less money than her, whether you're, you know, well, it can happen from my own personal experience. It can happen if you're making less money than your woman. Okay. And I'm in that stage in my life right now where I'm in the process of actually starting to make just as much as more as her than my wife. My wife makes good money, and I'm leveling up. And how I did so was I started by getting myself in good physical shape, and then after being red pilled, got in really good shape. I had been trying for the last 5 years to get in shape, and I just didn't do it properly. And to this point, even today, I know some things that I'm going to do moving forward for the next year. What I want to do to even make that even better, keep myself in even better physical shape. Okay. So, but also more importantly, I've figured out ways to just radically change my career and things that I'm doing. I have really good opportunities coming up, and when I land those things, for sure I'll tell you about them, all right, on this channel. But I'm in the stages of right now really close to landing a really good opportunity, and then another opportunity after that. So I'll share that with you if I do get those, and I think I will. So anyway, level up, okay? Women do not care about your intelligence. They only care about you, care about how you make them feel. That means in bed, in your daily interactions, and in how they perceive you in your life and in your purpose, and how they see you on your purpose. They're gonna want to be a part of that. Okay. And I don't care how feminized that woman was, how influenced by the gynocentric social order she was. If she perceives you as higher value than her, and she sees you as, oh man, this guy is the best I can do, she'll hop on board with it. Trust me, okay? Number 2, intelligence always clashes against women's existential fear of being bad, okay? I wrote an essay, and I'm going to share a snippet from that. I started a website on WordPress. I think it is projectalethrp.wordpress.com. And it's going to seem really bright for a second here because I got to look at it. But I talked about the video with the woman who on YouTube who had this nail in her head, and she was trying to explain the nail in her head to her boyfriend or husband or whatever. And in what I'm trying to say here is that one of the Rollo Tomassi talks about the existential fear of women is basically their inability to to have a baby with the right man. Okay, their greatest existential fear is not having a child with the right man. To sum that up, okay, and I won't get much into that, and I don't. But anyway, I argued in this essay that I think there is another existential fear, and that's that women really fear being bad or being perceived in a negative light. And I think that needs to be flushed out. And I think that is something we see going on all of the time. All of the time. It's like you try to have a conversation. I think about the Fresh and Fit guys. I've watched their videos. It's like these women that they have on the show. I mean, Myron Gaines and Fresh and Fresh do a really good job at what they do. But when they prove their point, the women are absolutely speechless at the end, and they almost look like zombies. If the woman isn't like pushing back on it or not getting kicked out, they sit there and they look, and it's like at the end of the show, they just look defeated. They absolutely look defeated. And I think that is because one of their primary existential fears is that they fear being bad. And everything is correlated into that, okay? And I will flesh that out. I wrote an essay on this, and you can check that out. You can go to my Twitter, and then you'll see a link to that website. And I wrote that essay there. But and let me share a snippet of this here. But in regards to the woman in this video, it says the the man desperately the man tries to desperately tells her what her problem is, however, which is her having the nail in her head. She doesn't want to hear about the nail. She just wants her feelings to be heard. What ultimately is going on is, and I explain, she is reinventing reality in order to avoid the possibility that she may have made the mistake and therefore responsible for the nail being in her head. Why? She would rather recreate the environment around her than fix the problem. Why? Because that would mean she was somehow wrong and therefore she is bad. Women make no distinction between being wrong and being bad. Let me finish that last sentence. Women make no distinction between being wrong and being bad. All right. So that's what I wrote in my essay there. And my point here is when you're a smart man and you're trying to reason with women, I don't know if they call them delta men or whatever, but a man's intelligence tells a woman she's bad. When you try to seem smarter than a woman, you're not convincing her to be attracted to you. You're saying you're bad for not thinking like me. And that's my point. And that's one of the things that you guys got to understand about having a high IQ. When you're trying to relate to women, you have to learn game, and I'll get into this. All right. But you cannot talk to women like you talk to men. In a man space, right? In a place where there's just men, we can have these intellectual conversations. But with women, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, because if you try to seem like you're smarter than a woman, you're basically telling her she's bad and not good enough. And that is like the opposite of what you want to do. Okay, you want to appeal to a woman's emotions. You want to make her feel good. And you seeming smarter than her and having answers that she doesn't is going to be the opposite, especially if you're in a position where you're trying to argue with her or trying to have a different opinion from her. All right. I think a woman will appreciate your competency. Okay. And that's something I don't even have on my notes here, but this is a good idea. She'll appreciate your competency in a situation where she needs it, where you can solve a problem that makes her life better. That's when it'll benefit her and she'll see you be competent. But in regards to talking with her and making her feel less intelligent than you, it's not going to work. Don't do it. Okay. All right. So number 3, only sexual arousal will show your woman's true inner nature. Only sexual arousal will show your woman's true nature. And this is why it's important to be an attractive male. I know a lot of you guys feel like you're not attractive. There's a lot of things you can do to work on that. You can work out. Trust me. I mean, if you don't have a nice looking face, you can work on your body. If you're short, you can work on your game, work on your body. You can work on your finances. If you're ugly and short, you can work on your game, your finances, your body, all these things. You can level up. And I promise you, if you display this mentality of I don't give a shit, and you display this attitude that, hey, I don't need you, I have other options. You show this woman that you have options, it's going to work in your favor. It's always going to work in your favor. Okay? And you can just, I hate to say it, but you can play the numbers game. And you have to not get fixed on one woman or just even one or two different women. Don't get fixed on it. You have to understand that you're like in the New Testament, a fisher of men, right? It's like Jesus's disciples were fishermen, and they went out and they cast their net and they caught tons of fish. And some of those fish are going to be good, some of those are not going to be good. And that's kind of what you have to do as a man today, is you have to kind of cast your net out there with what you have, working on improving yourself, and figure out which fish are good and which fish are not, which ones are the most compatible for you and which ones are not. All right, that's what it comes down to, is compatibility. You also want to be working on yourself in those ways so that you can find a woman who is going to display genuine desire in you. All right. And it might be harder for some of you guys. It might be. I in my 30s, well, in my 20s, I had women that showed genuine desire. And then one of those women was my ex-wife, who was a BPD. And I was like, I interpreted genuine desire as being a woman who was crazy. And in my 30s, when I worked at the bar, okay, as a bouncer and as a bartender here in Pittsburgh, women who showed genuine desire, which my wife was one of them years ago when she was in her 20s. I thought, oh, geez, these women who showed genuine desire were crazy, because I thought that they were basically BPD chicks who were like crazy about you. And if you know anything about BPD chicks, genuine BPD chicks, they will say anything and get you in bed and give you the good sex and to get you clawed, hook, line, and sinker. And so for me, that was a tough distinction to learn between a woman who had genuine desire and a woman who was mentally ill with BPD. And to be honest with you, the vast majority of women I had dealt with those qualities had genuine desire in me. And I thought, oh, geez, they're crazy about me, so I better get rid of them. But learn from those experiences. Learn that, like I did, I mean, you have to, had I not had that BPD experience, I would not have been aware of this. But at the same time, I had to learn the distinction between a woman who didn't have BPD, who genuinely had a desire for me, and a woman who was BPD and who had this fake ass desire for me. Okay, I'll put that out there. So only sexual arousal will show your woman's true inner nature. Okay. I talked about my experience at the bars, my experience being in shape. Okay, so I've been really fat. I'm one of these guys who fluctuated in weight in my lifetime. When I was in college, I got in great shape. I got married, I got fat. Then I got separated with my wife, divorced, got in really good shape, started attracting lots of women. And then I was involved with a woman for 2-3 years. For the first 2 years, it was non-exclusive. Even as we lived together, I was seeing other women. And then when I got exclusive, it was like I jumped back into this this sort of beta blue pilled mindset, because monogamous relationships for me were not fun. I didn't know how to be in them. I knew how to get women, I knew how to sleep with women, but like I didn't know how to be in a relationship with a woman. So I basically kind of went back to my blue pill ways when I decided to be exclusive to her. And I shit you not, this woman was probably a 4 or 5 at best, and I was a 5 or 6 at worst, I think. And if I can get my financial gains up, I think I can get myself up to a higher level as a man. And that's the advantage of being a man. If you're in shape, even at my age at 40, if you're in shape and you make good money, you can be, a 7, 8, 8.5, 9. You can get yourself up there, okay? And I think that my experience being in shape has basically shown me, and I've been in shape, I've been out of shape, but being in shape has basically shown me that my interactions with not just women, but with men treat me differently. People treat me differently. When I go on job interviews, people treat me differently. When I interact with women, I spark arousal triggers in girls that are 18, 19 years old. I spark arousal triggers in women who are 25, 26, 23, 24, 25, anywhere from between the ages of 18 to, honestly, I mean, well into their 60s. Women in their 60s have flirted with me, or still flirt with me. So being in shape is something you want to do. You need to do. Okay? It needs to be something that's a necessity to you. And real quick, I know I'm 19 minutes and 43 seconds in, but we have these neighbor kids that my son plays with, my oldest son. And they are always outside doing yard work. digging ditches, playing on their motorcycles, playing on their four wheelers. Like they're like boys, and they're out there. And if you see them, and I brought my son to events out there to the neighbor's house where they had all these boys hanging out, and these two neighbor kids, like they were like, one of them was like going into high school, the other one was like going into middle school, and they were just like ripped up. Like these kids, because these two young boys did things that were like traditional men stuff to do. Okay, like I saw both of them out there today, helping their father dig up mulch and put basically mulch into the ground and trying to grow crops today. These kids, like their bodies were like ripped up, and that's the way I think that young boys' bodies should look like. For the most part, they should look ripped up. And I realized that when I had these two boys over, to a pool party for my son's birthday party. Some of the women were noticing, like they're like, damn, these kids are like jacked up, and they noticed it, and they were like young kids, but they were like traditional young kids, like their parents have them out there doing shit that young boys used to do, and their bodies are like cut up. I mean, as young kids. And that doesn't happen anymore today. It's like when you see kids that do that, it's like, and their father is not jacked up at all. Their mother doesn't look jacked up. I mean, it's like the mother and father just have them doing activities that boys traditionally in our history of humankind should be doing, is staying physically active. So anyway, being in shape, my point is you need to be physically active as a man, and that will help you tremendously, okay? It's just that most of us today don't have jobs where we're physically active. We're like in offices or working from home, which I love to do, and that's great, but you need to stay physically active, all right? Also, point number 3, only sexual arousal will show you a woman's true inner nature. You'll understand this, and I've understood this from my experience in running game with women. You have to learn to talk to them. And that may mean learning a series of words and phrases and how to approach them. But in essence, that means you talk to them as if you're not intoxicated with them. You just talk to them as normal as you possibly can. If you're leveling up, you're in shape, you just talk to them normal. Say, hey, what's going on? You good? You don't act like a complete pussy. You don't act like you're like trying to cater to them and saying how beautiful they are, this and that. You just say, hey, this and that. You come up with some stories. You talk about this and that. And it could be anything. I mean, like, I'm not a game expert, but all I found is that if you talk to a woman normal, especially a beautiful woman, you talk to her as if she's not attractive, right? And I've talked about this in some of my previous videos where I've had experience with one of the more beautiful women that I've ever had an interaction been with. She was a woman who was from California, and she was super attractive. And what started the whole night was she was out with her friends, and I was at a bar, and she goes, hey, why don't we just hang out here? This really cute guys over here. Look at this guy. And I was like, hey, listen, you don't want to mess with me. Trust me. You really don't want to fuck with me. And from there on out, she couldn't believe it. And from there, I took it, I basically kind of led the night, and from there on out, it was a wrap. Like, honestly, just starting off that night by saying, I'm not someone you want to mess with. You don't want to fuck with me is basically what I said. That completely threw her off, and women are not used to that, okay? So you basically want to learn how to run game on women, and there's ways out there where you can do that, and there's lots of people that will teach you how to do that. I'm not somebody who is an expert in that. I think one of the primary ways that I run game with women is I just use eye contact. I've recently had some young kids talk to me and ask me, one young kid, high school kid that I know that I work with, one of my side gigs is, they were asking me about, he was getting ready to kiss his girlfriend for the first time, and they were asking me about advice, and I said, listen, I don't, what do you say to a woman to kiss her? I said, I don't say anything. I use my eyes to communicate with her. I do. And I let a woman know through my eyes that I'm really excited to be with her. And I just listen to her, and I don't have a series of words that I say, and I just use my body language and my eyes to describe that. I try to say less, okay? So, anyway, those are 3 points. Point number 1, women do not care about your intelligence. Point number 2, intelligence always clashes against women's existential fear of being bad. Point number 3, only sexual arousal will show you a woman's true inner nature. And point number 4 is what to do, okay? Here's what we do. All right, work on the alpha seed side of hypergamy, okay? Most men are on the beta side, or on the beta need side, okay? What do I mean? And this is coming from Rolo Tomasi, this is coming from those guys in the red pill community. And this is something I did in my life without knowing I was doing it. Okay, I got taken for child support early on in my 20s, and I realized that I felt I was zeroed out, and I felt like I was worth nothing. And in that process, when I started working as a bouncer at one of the bars here in Pittsburgh, a bar called Mario's in Shadyside, and sometimes in Southside. You can look that up. I realized, oh shit, I was broke, but at least I knew I could interact with women based on being the guy that they would want to sleep with, and that's how I kind of learned about the alpha seed side of things. Okay, in my mind, I was really upset about not being the beta need guy. For whatever reason, because of my religious backgrounds, this and that, I thought, oh, I had nothing to offer these women monetarily, so at least I can offer them sex. And it worked for me. It really did. It worked, and I had fun and slept with women, and it was great, many women. And but work on the alpha seed side of hypergamy, which means being physically fit, okay? Learning how to talk to women, all right? What else? Being physically fit, learning how to talk to women, learning really not to care whether you're going to land this woman or not, because you know you have other options. Just understand that when you're interacting with women, that they have other options, and you're not their only option. And you want to give them, if you give them a good sexual experience, you're going to have the advantage above 90% of the other men. 90%. And I've talked to many women, especially when I was working at the bar. I would have women come up to me and talk about their husbands or their boyfriends, and about how they were good guys, and they would, of course, never knew how to explain this from a red pill perspective, right? Of course, they can't, but they would say, hey, I'm really looking for a guy who can toss me around. And I've had women even say that to me. They want a man who can just sexually dominate them in the bed. And so you should learn to do that, and there's resources out there to do that, okay? There are. One of the things I always say in my videos is look at Sterling Cooper and his YouTube channel and his sexual dominance course. You can go out there and look that up. One day I do want to purchase that. But I've learned from my own personal experience, and I've learned this from being with women, having sex with women, sucking at having sex with women, working my way up to figuring out, what they like, different experiences with women, getting better. And as I had more experience with different women, I learned to figure out, it was like practice, dude. That's exactly what that is. And in any traditional, not even just Christian home, but, not even just Christian homes anymore. It's like non-Christian homes where boys are raised. It's like boys are raised to be like these good guys, and you don't want to be that. You don't want to be the good guy. You want to be the guy. And most men focus on that beta side, that beta need side, where it's like, I want to, make good money and provide this woman with this and this lifestyle, so on and so forth. And that will work for you like when you're like 30 and she's 28 and she's done banging all the hot guys. You want to have the hot guy attribute, and you want to work on that as much as you can. And you can do that. Okay? You can watch YouTube videos on how to run game. You can read books on how to run game, and it's going to benefit you. And it's okay to sleep with different women or just have experiences with different women, because they're having experiences with different men, and they will never tell you the truth because of that existential fear that they have of being bad. And women love to have sex. They're far less monogamous than men, at least the majority of men. All right, it's like only the top 10% of men are non-monogamous. The rest, 85% of men, they're just looking for like their dream girl, and they want to get married. But you got to figure out a way to get yourself into that top 20%, that top 10%. And all that takes, that doesn't take a whole lot. Typically, most of you guys have the monetary gains to do it. Most of you guys today are not interacting with women, so you have money. You just need to learn the game part. You need to learn the physical part of getting yourself in shape. You need to learn the part of being good in bed. And it's possible to do that. You can get lots of free information on the internet, okay? So, yeah, don't worry about the beta side of that. Don't be the beta provider. That is something that will naturally come. Focus on the alpha seed, or the alpha fucks, beta bucks. Be the alpha fucks guy. Focus on that. That's going to help you in the long run in any LTR or long-term relationship or marriage. Be that guy that she really finds fun, and that you provide those dopamine hits with when you're interacting with her. You're always sexualizing things. Not always, but like at least a good part of the 60% of the time. Sexualize it. Grab her ass. Pick her up. Show her you're strong. It could be even, if you've had sex 2-3 times in that week with your LTR, your wife, just say, hey, I'm still like, damn, I can't get enough of you. I love you. But don't even say it. Just do it with your eyes. Do it with your body language. Grab her. It'll go a long way for you, okay? Yeah, so what was my last note here? My story. Yeah, I shared my story at Mario's and being zeroed out. When I worked at Mario's, when I got divorced, and I think I said this already, but when I was in seminary and got divorced, went through a horrific divorce, and I started paying child support, this and that, and I got a job at Mario's, and I started working at the bars, and that kind of naturally, I knew enough that I wasn't online. I was kind of like going monk mode. I didn't have any internet, and I knew that I needed to be around a situation that I wanted to mimic when I was in my early 20s, which was being at a bar, making some money, being able to pay child support, being able to pay some of my bills, and also interacting with women and with guys, and it paid off for me. It paid off being a bouncer, because not only did I have women approaching me, and to this day, one of those women that I was with and messing around with is my wife to this day. I met her in her 20s, and she kept that in her because of the experience I had given her. Years later, when I got single again, she pursued me, right? So you want to basically you want to be in the mind frame of that you have options, okay? And the best way to do that is to put yourself in the position to have those options, okay? And most of you guys have normal jobs. I'm not saying quit your job and be a bouncer, but that worked for me. It worked for me. And at that point in my life, I was zeroed out, and I had nothing else to lose. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go do it. For you guys who are sitting in front of your screens all day, or you're at work, you want to figure out a way to put yourself in a position to have as much access, whether that means figuring out how to do your social media, your Instagram, your dating profiles, all this and that. There's resources out there to make that attracted to women, your game and how you approach online, your text messaging game. Learn those things, okay? Learn those things so that you can have experience with women, and you can appease that alpha seed side and not so much that beta need side, okay? That's it. That's my video. I appreciate you guys. Peace.